Here I wanted to show you some different areas of the brain and what role these areas of the brain take. So here we have the frontal lobe and the prefrontal lobe. And the prefrontal lobe is where our logic and reason comes in. So this is where there's that judgment and they're not making good decisions, they're not able to keep organized. Also impulse control. So if you're noticing some of the mood swings, they're getting upset very easily, or crying hysterically over things that it just doesn't make sense. That's not what they've normally done. Making choices, this comes from your prefrontal lobe. So again, if they're making poor choices, self-awareness, awareness of others, so the ability to see things from somebody else's perspective, they lose that. Initiating, sequencing, and finishing. So this is often when showering even becomes a problem, because there are many steps to taking a shower. So them remembering to do things and all of the steps that it takes, the sequencing can become quite difficult. Here we've got deeper into the frontal lobe, and this is where, again, we have that higher functioning that they start to lose. The frontal lobe is also the last part of the brain to develop. That's why insurance companies hike up your rates until you're 25 years old, because your frontal lobe is not fully developed until you're 25 years old. So, we say that a 20-year-old is just a 2-year-old adult. They're not even, fully an adult yet. And then there's your parietal lobe that is right behind your frontal lobe. And this is where you process sensation and where messages are sent to the spinal nerves. Then in the very back of our head is the occipital lobe. And this is where our visual data is processed. So oftentimes people think that, mom or dad's glasses, their vision is changing, their glasses, they're not able to see anymore, but it's not actually a structural issue with the eyes. It has to do with loss of neurons here in the occipital lobe, which again is in the back of the brain. So it's a processing issue, not an actual mechanical visual issue. And then the deep brain, which is also the primitive brain, is the limbic system. That is deep in the brain. And then we've got the temporal lobe, which surrounds that. That is where our auditory data is processed. So our hearing, our comprehension of speech, speech production, vocabulary, rhythm of speech. Oftentimes you can be fooled because they seem to be able to carry on just a normal conversation with just kind of social chit chat, but that's because they still have that rhythm of speech. So in a closer look, we've got the neurodegeneration. So dementia involves progressive degeneration of those neurons, which are the building blocks of the brain. The degeneration disrupts the brain's ability to communicate between its different parts, which leads to impaired cognitive functioning.